Do you use the Gutenberg editor for anything? I do. I use it in blogs and I use it for a number of other programs as well. And often some of the add-ons that you bring into WordPress, you do need to use it. Have you tried any of the extensions? Have you ever tried Stackable, Greenshift, or Spectra? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a quick showdown between these three. Make a simple hero image. My name is JP. Welcome to Web Science for Beginners. And I was doing some practice on these three replacements for the WordPress editor. I call them replacements because I just don't use the WordPress editor at all. And I've worked with them before and I thought revisiting them this year. So let's see what they can do. And while I was doing that, I thought, well, let's do a little showdown. Let's make a very basic hero section and just do the simple features and see how each of these three fare against each other. I've worked with all three of these. I've used them. But at the end of the day, you do need to make a choice. I'll try and edit out all the mumbo jumbo I often throw in so that it doesn't become a Jurassic Long Park video. And then at the end, I will give you my personal opinion of these three, which I'll be choosing to work with in the future. So if you're not interested in watching all of that, but you just want to know what is my opinion, there's a timestamp in the description below. You just click on that and you go to the end and listen to what I think is my favorite or what I would recommend, especially if you are a beginner. So let the showdown begin. Round one, it is Stackable versus Spectra versus Greenshift. Robots activate. Jump into Spectra and let's not talk too much about it. You can download the Spectra plugin, the free one, directly from the WordPress repository. Very easy, Spectra. Install it, nothing to it, and then you can go and create your page. Let's have a quick look then when we go to our add blocks section. Spectra appears at the top. I really appreciate that. And a nice number and useful blocks that appear here. The one that is the most important is the container. Let's click on the container. It brings it in, and then you have to select the one column. And then you have to select again. So we go ahead and select it. What I want to do is bring a heading in from the get-go. So we click on add block and, or let's go here. That we have a better idea. I'll type in heading, makes it easier. And we're going to use heading from Spectra, that one, and click and it drops it outside it. Let's just drag it into the column, typical. Good. Let's just have a look quickly here at our list view. Yes, we have a container. Let's remove this paragraph. And then we have a container and the heading. Select the text. That's easy. Join the track. And now I want to go and bring in the image for the background. So what I'll do here from our toolbar, I'll just select the container to go one level up. Let's have a look here there under the inspector, the block. Now here are inner container presets that really didn't do anything for me. I couldn't figure out what they did. If I clicked on something, yeah, maybe, but I think start here with the default. Let's go to the style and then background, select the image. I already have my hero image in the background. And that's an easy one. By default, it is set to cover, which is where you want your size to be when you bring in something for a hero image by default. Thank you. Now let's look at our overlay. So here you see under the image, you will see the overlay type. We're going to go for gradient. And I like the gradient settings here. Really found this nifty. Let me grab my two colors that I have here, the blue. And we put the blue here. And let me type that in there. And then for your transparency, you're going to drag it down here. You don't have a separate setting for that. That's good. Click on the second gradient there, or gradient selector, whatever we call that. And copy. Let's go back and we paste our hex code. Same thing. I'm going to drag the orange or the opacity slider down a bit like so. Now that we've done that, let's set the radius angle. And I know this is 135. And that is all that I need to do for my background. We make it a full width. So let's go to the top, collapse background. And then we go back to general container. Yes, and here we go. And then what we want to do is put this on a full viewport height. So we go to minimum height, select viewport height and type in 100. And we got a full page view. Good. We're done with this one. So let's select our heading. Join the track and see what we have here. Alignment, let's put it in the middle. And I want to make this H1. Let's go to style, heading typography. I think these are the basics. And we're going to do this all manual every time. so we get to understand how it works. Montserrat, I put it at 90 pixels. The weight, I'm going to go all the way to 80. Seems like it's already on 80. And remember that H1 actually comes from the theme, which is Brizzy. Transform, uppercase, nicely done. Line height, it's on M, great. I'm going to put it on 1. And what I want you to note is that there is still this space here at the bottom. We're going to adjust that with margins. Letter spacing, great, is on pixels, and I'm going to add 5 pixels of letter spacing. Great, so we've done that. Then there's the text color. My personal preference is that text color should be the first thing. There we go. Put it on white. We don't need anything else. Let's bring in the next section, which is a tagline under that. For that, strangely enough, yes, you're going to use the heading block again. I'll click on it, select it. It's already selected. And then under general, select the P here under the heading tag, and that's going to give you your paragraph function. Great. Let's center align it and then again leave the rest off. We go ahead. Let's change the color. And this is what I say. I wish the color was at the top because that's probably one of the things you want to change immediately. Again, though, if you set it in the theme, you're not going to have that problem over here. My line here is we all need, and this is going to be very, very basic. Go to typography. Let's put it on Montserrat again. And for our font size, we're going to go for 18. The weight is 400, which should be the default. And then the rest, line height, I'll put it on 1. And no letter spacing added for this one. And then finally, we bring in a button. So let's go and search our buttons. And this one here, and it drops these 2 buttons in here. Let's delete the first button. Click on that. And then select remove button. Go for this one and call this join the club. Let's see what we have here on the right. You have the presets. They work pretty well. But again, I'm going to stick to the default one here. Well, we can actually start with this one because I'm looking for an outline. So great. Let's start with the preset. Then we go to style. Let's change the color first. Typography. I'll put it on white. And then under typography, we're going to go for Montserrat again. Again, I'll put the font size on 18. What is that? 18. The weight, I'll put here on 600. Style, transform, uppercase. Decor line height, I'll put on 1 and my letter spacing on 3. Background, we don't need, okay, so you see there's a hover. So click on background. I think hover, very well done in Spectra. For the normal state, it is put on transparent. Hover, I'm going to go for color. I'll select white and then I'll grab this slider, our opacity slider all the way down. That's nice. Change the border, width at 1. The radius, okay, 0. I think it's 0. I say I think. And then color, I'm going, again, white. Fancy that. Let's do the spacing next. And padding, I'll delink it. And my top, I'm going to put 25, sides 35, 25, 35. Really big call to action button here. Let's add a bit of space between these two, around 35 pixels. I'll click on either of them and then we go again to spacing over here and that will be our margin. And at the bottom, I'll type in 35, giving us that. So you see, we still have this issue with the one at the top, which I told you I'm not too fond about that space. So what we'll do, you can click here and then we go to margin. And I'll go to the bottom and I'll click down and I got to around -20, which I thought worked for me. Let's preview this. All looking good. That is very simple, right? And you see how quickly we did it. It wasn't frustrating, I think. That was really good. But let's have a look now at how this will play out for responsive view. Select the first heading that we have here and let's go back to the block and we go for our style under heading and we go typography and we're going to start changing the sizes. Select desktop, then we go to tablet. And here's a little snag I have with Spectra. It closes the typography settings. Now I have to click back on the pencil. Don't like that, but we type in 64 pixels. That's all we're going to do. Again, let's go to mobile. It's going to do the same. It's going to close the typography settings. So I have to click again on it and type in 36. You also have the settings then for the line height. Maybe if you want to add a little bit more space there. And as well, if you want to reduce the letter spacing, you have the responsiveness for that as well. So if we put the letter spacing on 0, it's going to look like that. And that means, let's go back to desktop. Nothing has changed here. Let's go to tablet. Close this. This is okay. I'm looking at the second one and then the last one. Right, so here I want to make a few changes. Click on it, and again, I have to open this one. I'll reduce it to 16 pixels, and we have to add line height here, 1.6. I want to add a little bit of padding on the left and the right, so I'll go to spacing, and then padding, make sure it's selected. I'll put it on percentage, and then on the right, I'm going to add 5%, and on the left, 5%. Let's go back to tablet and see if we want to change the button. I think button is good for us here. But why the button hover border is black. So we have to go change that. Do that at the top level, which is the desktop. Select the button and we go to border, then color hover. Yep, it's set to black. We also want that on white. On tablet, no problem. And then on mobile, let's reduce it a little bit. Select it. Let's go to our text, typography, and reduce the letter spacing to 0. And there we have it. Update. And what I'm going to do is grab the URL of this and let's look at it in a developer's app like Sissy. Off the bat, when you see that, you see this. And of course, this is a super simple hero. I can give Spectra A+ here. Now that we've done Spectra, let's go have a look at Stackable. I'll hop into WordPress, same thing, just like before. You go into the WordPress repository, you just look for Stackable, you install it, and that's it, you're ready to go. All right, before I say it, let's go to Toggle Blog Inserter and have a look here. So previously, I think this thing, the columns container had a different name. It was called Section in version 1, which I kind of liked, and then they changed it to columns/container. Click on it to drop it in, and then you have a similar box to many of the others. Some columns settings that you can choose from the beginning. We're going to go for 1, and then I'll select it. Now you see the plus in the middle. Let's bring in the heading. Let's select the heading, and there we go. And it's called Join the Trek. And what I'm going to do is select one up so I can bring in the background. You actually didn't select the container. You selected the column within the column/container. Go to your list view and you will see here when you unfurl all of these guys that when you bring in the columns container, it actually brings in the column hosted inside that. That is the content width, basically what it is. Make sure you select this little dude here, columns and container, when you work with the background of the entire section. Now that we have cleared that out, you will see here is the column. Let's go first and bring in the background so we're not totally lost. Block and you see your background. Let's bring in the background image. There we go. And waar is it? Where is it? You have to actually activate it. Okay. To set it to full width, you have to go to the toolbar here, like you do in many cases, and put it on full width. Go to style. Under style here, you have the columns, and here you can set the content width. Right, great. Jump back to block, and then we look at background. We want to bring in our color. Click on gradient because that's what we want. Click on gradient color 1. And where do you add your hex number here? Let's copy our blue code and click here on the checkered box. And this opens the screen for us. Let's paste it. And where's the transparency setting? Okay, so you don't have transparency control over each and every color. And we still don't see it, but let's close this one. Click on background color 2. And we do the same. We select orange. And now for you to bring in the gradient, you have to go here to background media tint strength and drag it up. This means that you apply both colors uniformly, which I prefer not to do. Sometimes I would like to have one color at 90 or even 100% and the other one much lower to create the nice fade in effect. So I kind of miss that is not there. Advanced gradient color settings, click on this, and here you have the orientation. We put it on 135. No mess, no fuss. Stackable gives you this 24 pixels to every block you bring in. This is padding at the bottom. Don't know why, padding or margin. You can drag it away. Let's focus then on the heading. So make sure you select the heading. Great. Here's joint heading. Use themed heading margins. Now here is the one that if I click on it, you will see I get that extra space at the bottom. So what Stackable is doing is identifying the theme, the heading margins of the theme, and gives you the option to take it away. And by default, it switch off like that, plus for that. Let's put it on H1 and we go through the typography. Again, the color is down here. Wish it was at the top. Let's put it on white. And then start with the size next, which I wish it was higher. Size should be more higher than that. And then typography. So I think for me, we should look for the Montserrat. And then the weight, we put it 800, default, uppercase. And what do we have here? We have line height, which says is 1. And we have our letter spacing at 5. Lovely. How do we center align our text? We have to go and make this full height. Let's focus on that first. With our column selected, we go to the block alignment, size and spacing. And then where is our height? Minimum height. Click here on the pixel, select viewport height and type in 100. We get that. And content alignment vertical, we put it in the middle. And do we have content alignment here? That's how we can bring in the content alignment. Pretty sure you can do that with the text too, but we're done with this. Next, I will bring in the text, type in text, select that, and it drops there. Select it. Where is it now? It's already put to paragraph because it's a text element, so you don't need to worry about the HTML tag. Alignment, it's in the middle already because we set our flex properties to be middle for this one, which is great. Size and spacing, none of that. So let's go to style, go to typography. Oh, you could add it there the old way. And then again, color first. Size 18. And why the color didn't change? What did I do wrong here? Ah, there we go. And then we have to just change our font family to Montserrat. And there we go. Then the last thing, oh yeah, let's go back there because my line height, remember, I like to make sure everything is on a 1. Then last one, we bring in a button. Let's search for button. There we go. That is Stackable's button. Click and drop it there. And you have the styles here again that you can choose. I'll start with the ghost style. Below that, you immediately have the link, which we don't care about now. Button color is transparent. Good, I like that. Text color I want on white. Yeah, so button size and spacing. For the vertical padding, I'm going to add 25 both at top and 35 on the sides. That's it. Button size and spacing. There's a full width option I like. Button borders. Border width we put on 1. Make sure we lock that in. Button border color is white. And see if there's a hover. No, there's not a hover, so that's fine. You see, those are not sharp corners. Okay, that's fine. Now it's on 0. And then typography at the very bottom. Let's start here with Montserrat. Same procedure. This is going to be 600. Transform is uppercase. And then line height we put at 1 and letter spacing we put at 3. But what about the background color? So yeah, not under style, but under block. If I activate the background, I get this. Are those margins? Let's go to size and spacing. Let's link all the margins, put it on 0. No, it's not. How about padding? Let's link them and put it on 0. It's padding, right? So don't like that. Let's put the margins also at 0. That was unexpected. Maybe that is part of the preset, but me no like that. Figured out, let's go back to background and then background color opacity, I'll drag to 0. Okay. And the reason is now I'm going to put it on hover state. So to do hover, you go to this little arrow next to the background color. You select the hover state here. Then you go ahead and you put it on white. And then with the background color opacity, right, let's put it on 0.2. Click again on the arrow and move it back. There we go. I felt that was a little bit weird with the padding. Let's add the 35 pixels. There's already 24. But what I like, as you can see, I can drag on the page. That's very easily done. This is a big plus. And then for this 24 pixels, we're going to reduce that to 20 pixels if I can. And then under style, or will that be under block? Under block, size and spacing. And here our margin, type in 20. And now we have 20 there. We have 35 here. Lovely. Let's update. So I think too much space here. Great. So let's go and fix that. I'm not going to cry too many crocodile tears over that. Select the heading first. Let's go to style where we have our typography. And then size. Okay, so the size here is nice and open. I can go to tablet, select that. It changes. And then I'll type in 64. And we do the same for our mobile. Okay, and that is 36. Then we go to typography. And I go to letter spacing. And I want to make that 0. However, it's not responsive. Strange. It's not responsive. Where I got it to go nicely in Spectra together, cannot do that. So that would be nice to have had that one there. But we at least got that done. Let's click on the next one. And let's just go back to desktop, work from top down. And this is again the size. Where am I now? I'm lost here. Size typography, size, go to mobile and type in 16. And we add padding of 5% on the left and right. So spacing, we know is under block. Here's padding. Yes, that can be responsive. And then we put it on percentage. On the right, 5. And on the left, 5. Lovely. And then finally, let's also do that for the button. And again, here's the problem with the button. We cannot change the letter spacing. It's not responsive. Let's go to style. Where's typography? And we put it on 16. Update. No, let's add, and that is way too close to each other. And we have to add the line height to this one. So let's select this first. And again, style, typography, line height will be here. Okay, typography, there we go. And line height, that one is responsive. That's nice. And then let's add about 15 pixels of margin at the top. And the only thing I couldn't achieve was the responsiveness with the letter spacing. Everything else worked out fine, but you did see the few things that we ran into in the criticism I had a little bit over the gradient opportunities, a little bit responsive opportunities, and then the confusion you may have over the columns/container and then a column inside of that. Lovely. I'll give it an A still for the easy stuff. Now it's time to have a look at Greenshift. Greenshift, same situation. You go into your plugins, install plugins. You get it from the WordPress repository, Greenshift. There we go. And then from there again, it's simply going to work. I will select row. That's what I was comfortable with. And you see, I get to choose the columns. Then I'll select the column and then first bring in a heading, which is called an advanced heading. And you're also going to use that for normal paragraph text. Select it, join the trek. And let's see, we go up one. Select the column. That's one column. And these are also, and then go up one more to the row. After selecting row, you go and put it on full width. And look at that. It already contains it. It's already set, so I don't have to go through that process. Just have a look again at the structure. You have a row and you have a column as well. So let's make sure that we select again the row. Let's change the height. I'm going to put it on viewport height and we put it on 100%. So we have that again. Background and opacity. Let's go for the background. We want to bring in an image over here, upload an image. I brought that one. Is that the right one? That's the right one. And that's it. Everything should be fine here. And then below that, background overlay. We select gradient, and similar to Spectra, you can see here you have the plus in the middle. You can add more colors here to your gradient. Select this one and you see we can type it. We can paste it easily, and we have the opacity slider again. Select the second one, select, bring the opacity down. And I remember it's already set to a radius of 135. So if you go to here, angle 135, Nothing I have to change here. We're done with that one, but we do need to set the alignment of this, and I think that can be done. Let's go to our container. Where is that? Here. Column position in the row. Up next, let's select the advanced heading. Put it on H1. Let's move down. I'll align it first. Put it in the middle. Then font size, 90. And actually, I want to call out text color here at the top first. Look at that. That's where it should be. And then font size, love that. Line height, we're going to put that. This is the only thing, it's put on pixel. Line height should be by default be on M. That would be my, is that M so small? Yes, put it on 1. And then advanced styling options. So strange, the font family is at the very bottom. But the idea is that you set the font family within your theme. And then the style, I'm going to put on 800. And then we go to advanced typography options. Let's select that. And you see here we have letter spacing at the top. That's going to be 5 and capitalize here, which is uppercase for all of them. Good job done. Let's bring in again advanced heading. Click and we type again. And then the first thing under general, we put it also on the P so that we can work with it as a paragraph. Change the color, font size 18. Line height, we can put on 1, so we can test the responsiveness and then put it here on center. And you actually have the font weight controls over here. So this one is a 4, which is, I don't have to set the font weight, but this is a nice little slider effect that you can do with that. And we don't, line height is pixels. Now you see that line height is too small. It's not set to M. There we go. And then advanced typography options, nothing else we need to do here. And then we bring in the button, select that. Let's click on the button, align it from the toolbar to the center, select all the text, join the club. And let's see what we have here. This is the button link icon, which we're not going to touch. The label, you have a secondary label, background and opacity. So the background, we said we want transparent. So select that and I'll just grab the transparency slider. And then for the hover, let's add a little bit of that back already and put it on white here. Drag it down. There's the hover. Good. And then that is background and opacity. And then overlay effects. Don't need that. Typography. Text color is white. Font size is 18. Line height is 1M. And then we have, it's aligned to the middle, advanced typography options. And we give it a letter spacing of 3. And we put it on uppercase like we did previously. And change the font, Montserrat. And the style, Montserrat. And the style is 600. Did I change the font of this one? Let me just go check. Suddenly I cannot remember. No, I didn't. So for our tagline is also Montserrat. There we go. That looks more uniform. Click back on the button and we go to our spacing. Padding, is it deselected? I think so. Top 25, right 35, 25, and 35. Let's go to the border. They're all selected. Great. Select the border style. The size is 1. Click back on join the track and select heading spacing so I can show you the margins. Let's select them all, type in 0, and you see the margin is reduced. Don't know what the value is, but there is a margin. I'll unlink it, and at the bottom, I'll add a margin of 15, like we did previously. 20, let's do the same for this one. And I go to heading spacing. Let me link them all and type in 0 first. Yeah, there it is again. Unlink them, and then at the bottom, 35. Nothing wrong with that. Those are settings that make your page look good from the beginning. And you often set these within your theme. And that's where Greenshift will be taking it from. It is just something that you have to be aware of, that when I tell you add 20 here, do this there and do that there, it doesn't mean that it's actually there. Let's go ahead and update our page. I'll reduce a little bit of that space there. Header spacing, I put it on, and that's 10. This is the way. And now let's go ahead and look at responsiveness. Responsiveness cannot complain. Click on advanced heading. Let's go to our typography at the top and we change the font size. And you see here you have your responsive views that you can change. The moment you change it to something like tablets, everything that you can do in terms of changing the tablet will appear. So I'm going to put that on 64. And then we go, I'll skip the landscape view and this one on 36 and 36. And remember, we also want to reduce the letter spacing here. Go to advanced typography options. It's already set to mobile and I'll type in 0. Lovely. It can be done. Select the tagline text and let's change the font size here to 16. And we are going to add padding on the left and right. So that will be heading spacing. And we go for padding and put it on percentage and on the right 5 and on the left 5. And then also have to add line height. So let's just scroll up here, line height, put it on 1.6. And then join the club. Click on that. Look for typography. And we're going to put it on 16. And the letter spacing we are going to reduce to 0. And with that, we can put it back on desktop view. Really love Greenshift. Really like it. Right, so it's time that I'll give you my impression of these 3 plugins. I like flexibility. And having said all of that, I want to say my number 1 choice would be Greenshift. Purely because I understand Flexbox. I like it when I have a number of things that I want to put inline and I can do it like that. Number 2 is Spectra. Spectra does a great job. I cannot find fault with it for a few little snacks that every little piece of app has on the market. But I put Spectra at number 2, that if you're starting, you want to build a basic page, even an intermediate to advanced page, but you don't need all that control like Flexbox and stuff, then Spectra is going to do a perfect job for you. The interface is straightforward enough for that. Stackable, I would love to say that I wanted to give it a higher score. Can't get back into that spot for me. There's just a few things there that need fine-tuning. Can you build a site with it? Absolutely. If you use Blocksy or many of the other themes out there, their starter sites are built with Stackable. And you can just go have a look at the amazing work done with that. Now, always at this part of the video, I bid you adieu. And then I have to go and start editing. It takes a few hours and days so that we can get this video out. I appreciate the support. Stay well, and I'll see you in the next video from me, JP. Badio.